AWA+C president. For anyone unfamiliar with us, AWA+D is an almost 100-year-old nonprofit professional organization committed to the career advancement of women in architecture and the allied fields. I'm so proud to be part of this continuing legacy. Our tagline for the symposium, "The only constant in life is change," seems ever more relevant in these trying times. Our first two sessions featured inspiring personal stories of perseverance, followed by two highly informative sessions on community resilience, touching on climate change, social justice, homelessness, and policymaking. If you missed any of these sessions, you can view it on demand at our new YouTube channel. I'll add a link to the chat so you can follow that. We're also recording tonight's sessions in speaker mode, and we'll make that available soon. Before we begin, thank you to our annual sponsors, Louis Polson, Atomic Irrigation, Shimahara Visual, and Trajan Photography, and our symposium planning committee, Meg Coffey, Sarah Garina, Alejandra Ramirez, Marisa Kurtzman, Pam Leone, and Stephanie Reich. Our last two sessions in the series, tonight and next Tuesday, are hosted by our sister organization, the Association for Women in Architecture Foundation. It's my pleasure to introduce a woman I admire very much, Ginger Tansman, AWAF president.
Thank you. That just warmed my heart. Thank you very much. And I want you to know that it's mutual. Just a little bit about AWA Foundation. We were founded 23 years ago, all loyal AWA or now AWA+D members, and we wanted to find a way to do some charitable work and therefore to make donations that came in tax deductible. So those two things converged and we found ourselves able to do that. And tonight with our scholarship program, you're seeing one of our primary activities. And it's something that we all get involved with and we enjoy very much. The foundation is not a membership organization. We have a board, and so there's a limited number of people who are on the board, but people from all walks of life actually support the foundation. I want to thank, I like that we are together, our two groups are together, even though we're separate organizations, we're inextricably joined with each other. And I want to thank AWA+D and also our AWA Foundation board for putting it all together tonight. It's a real labor of love, and it's just foundational to what it is that we do. I also want to thank our donors. Every year we have one big fundraiser. People come from far and wide, and until this year they've been physically coming to a party. So I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a moment. But the donations that we get come through that event, through other things during the year, through smile.amazon.com. That's one of mine. You know, whenever I buy something through Amazon, I let a contribution go to the foundation. And then we have our very special donors, and you're going to hear more about them. But tonight, the scholarships are coming primarily, or in the big named way, from an AWA+D longtime member organization, a new donor that's a corporate friend of ours now, and we are still working on a very generous bequest that was made to us. And so one of the things people have heard me do over the last few years is say, please remember us in your will, because you can live on through that way. And so that system has been working. So this year, with everything virtual, our party will not be on the usual first Saturday night of December. Right now is your save the date. Save the period December 1 to 12. We're going to celebrate. We're going to have interesting auction just like usual. We're getting it all together now. And the period of December 1 through 12 is when you want to tune in We'll give you all kinds of opportunities to join in that. And so here's the culmination of what we've been doing over the last little while. And so thank you, Audrey. And now I'd like to turn it to Jana. Jana is a member of our board, and she also chairs the awards committee. Jana.
Thank you, Ginger. So good evening, everyone. It's really wonderful that we're still able to come together virtually in this way to celebrate the achievements of our fellow colleagues and students. So today, on behalf of the AWAF, I'm very excited to announce the recipients of our 2020 Scholarship and Honorable Mention Awards, and to share this platform with 3 of our former award recipients who will each share their distinct story about their career paths. So this evening's program is called A Legacy of Achievement. We'll begin with the 2020 award announcements, and then it will be followed by presentations by our 3 guest speakers. We'll have a Q&A discussion with them, and then we will conclude the event with a special toast. So I hope you happen to have a beverage of choice nearby by the end of the event so that you can raise your glass with us. So without further delay, we will start with our award presentation. Share my screen. Okay, so reviewing the materials every year that the scholarship applicants submit is for me one of the highlights of working with the AWAF Awards Committee. And I'm always impressed and inspired by the creative thinking, the quality and ambition of the students, and particularly this year in the midst of a sudden transition to learning from in the classroom to having to learn at home. The students still found the time this spring to complete their applications, and we received more this year than we had in last year. So it was really remarkable and inspiring. And in light of this and the quality of submissions received, with the help of our, sorry, I just realized I think I moved the video over the slides. Okay. So with the help of our generous donors, as Ginger just mentioned, we are pleased to offer 3 scholarships and 2 honorable mention awards to talented women who exemplify incredible design sensibilities and who are engaged in their communities through organizations and internships. So let's recognize our winners. And since we don't have a stage this year, I'll ask each of them to wave and just say hi very briefly so that you can see their faces and meet them. And then at the very end, we'll do a round of applause together. So first, we'll start with our Honorable Mention Awards. The Honorable Mention Award for Social Impact goes to Monique Barajas. So Monique, would you please wave for us? The jury was inspired by Monique's passion to make a difference by pursuing her interest in real estate and affordable housing while helping her own family through hardships. These interests grew during her early work at a bank, which exposed her to the difficulties that families undergoing foreclosure face, and also while delivering water and supplies to homeless encampments. While pursuing her degree in urban studies and planning with a specialization in housing, community, and economic development, Monique is also a volunteer intern for the Los Angeles Homeless Service Authority. So congratulations, Monique.
Thank you.
Our next honorable mention award for design goes to Lynn Cheng. Lynn's mixture of experiences from her background in urban planning and studio arts. And yes, sorry, go ahead and wave, Lynn. So
Hi, everyone.
Great, thank you. Lynn's unique background in urban planning and studio arts fuels her passion for public art and community-based design. She aspires to be a landscape architect who can translate art forms into design projects to create accessible and artful public space. The jury found Lynn's portfolio refreshing and thought-provoking in her ability to provide beautiful graphics to clearly convey complex thoughts. So congratulations to Lynn.
Thank you.
So now for our scholarship awards. As Ginger mentioned, Peggy Bowman left a bequest to the AWAF that has provided the core to our scholarship fund. An early female architectural pioneer, Peggy's work is archived at Virginia Tech University in their Virginia Heritage Manuscript and Archival Collections. This year's Peggy Bowman Scholarship Award goes to Adrian TENNEY. So Adrian, can you wave for us? Great, hi Adrian.
Thank you so much.
So Adrian impressed the jury as someone who lives, breathes, and acts upon her passions. She pursues landscape architecture because of the joy she discovers in getting to know a landscape intimately, and because she believes that it is an essential tool we must use to mitigate the effects of climate change and to increase ecological resiliency. As a graduate student, Adrian launched Cal Poly Pomona's Climate Action Committee. So congratulations, Adrian. Oh, and sorry, I have one more slide. So Adrian's work expresses the happiness that she derives from it, as I mentioned. And one juror stated, "Even I was smiling all the way through reading Adrian's project, My Cedar Vale Ravine. The connection between people, place, and environmental stewardship are front and center in her portfolio." So congratulations again, Adrian. Our next scholarship award is the KFA Architecture Scholarship. With an architectural staff that is over 50% women, KFA Architecture is proud to support women in the workplace and has sponsored an AWAF scholarship annually since 2014. KFA is also a signer of the 50/50 by 2020 AWA+D initiative. And this year's award goes to PANIZ FARSHCHIHA. So PANIZ,
Hi, everyone.
hello. PANIZ is drawn to the beauty that we possess through the power of creation, the power to design everything from our feelings to walls, buildings, and cities. PANIZ's portfolio expresses multifaceted talent with fine art and structural explorations, in addition to architectural design projects. The jury noted her well-developed thought process to convey creative designs as worthy of recognition. PANIZ is an empathic designer who demonstrates leadership in her volunteer role as creative and art director for Iman Ali's Popular Students Relief Society, an NGO that helps children and women who suffer from poverty in Iran. So congratulations, PANIZ.
Thank you.
And our third and final scholarship is the HELMS Bakery Architecture and Design Scholarship, sponsored by Walter N. Marks Incorporated, owner of the HELMS Bakery District and a consistent supporter of AWA+D and AWAF programs and initiatives. The HELMS Bakery Architecture and Design Scholarship Award goes to KATARINA RICHTER-LUNN. KATARINA, if you would wave, hello.
Hi, everyone.
After working professionally in the field of architecture, KATARINA became aware of an increasing gap between where technology is headed and how the discipline is utilizing it. The realization that new advancements could be embraced to bring innovations to architecture inspired her to return to school for a master in design and technology. Through multidisciplinary collaborations, KATARINA explores how to push the use of technology outside our set of limitations of what we believe it to be capable of in architecture. KATARINA's exploratory portfolio made an impression on the jury. KATARINA's work is ambitious and forward-thinking, at times even unsettling. The intersections between architecture, psychology, and technology are a frontier worthy of all the research she seems committed to endeavor. Congratulations, KATARINA.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And the coordination and execution of the Scholarship Awards program takes a dedicated group of people. And so I want to take this time now to thank the Scholarship Committee for all of the time, effort, and commitment that they give to make these awards happen. So a special thank you to Rena Dowes, Lise Bornstein, Clarissa Chung, Shranvi Kenani, and Isa Mattia. And also a special thank you to our group of jurors for 2020. So now I'd like Alejandra, if you can unmute everyone, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen and we'll all join in a round of applause for our winners this year. Congratulations, everybody.
Yeah. Good job.
All right. Our first ever virtual awards ceremony. So now we will transition to the next part of our program. And so this year, AWAF and AWA+D have had the unique opportunity to collaborate on this annual symposium and award event in a new way. And so as part of this year's multi-part series on designing for resilience, AWAF is thrilled to feature the stories of 3 different women who themselves were recognized as students with AWAF scholarship awards for their potential to be leaders in architecture and design. And as we hear from each of our speakers, please feel free to submit any questions that you would like to raise through the chat feature on Zoom. And then after all 3 presentations, we will refer to the chat list to kick off our Q&A sessions. So first, we will hear from Erin Cuevas, who was a Peggy Bowman Scholarship recipient in 2015. Erin is an architect and co-founder of Curious Minds Los Angeles, a design studio focusing on the fluid interaction between the human body and its material and immaterial environments. She also founded Project XYZ, a scenography production company composed of architects, dancers, choreographers, and filmmakers. Through projects in both ventures, Erin and her business partner, Jana Masek-Koletz, are committed to highlighting the work of female artists of various disciplines and backgrounds. Erin currently holds a faculty position teaching design and digital media in both undergraduate and graduate programs at the University of Southern California. So Erin, as soon as you are ready, please go ahead and share your screen.
Hi everyone, thanks so much, Jana. I'll share my screen now. Okay, Jana, is it working?
Yes, it is.
Are you seeing, hold on a second. Maybe you're seeing the wrong desktop. No?
We see the white slide with your name on it.
It's working, okay, great. Okay, so hi, my name is Erin. Jana already introduced me. I'm the co-founder of Curious Minds Los Angeles. We're an architecture firm in downtown LA. I'm also faculty at the University of Southern California, and I'm very thankful to have received the AWAF scholarship in 2015 and to be here with you all today. So I guess sort of explaining my story from then till now, I received my scholarship in the middle of graduate school while studying to receive my MArch2 at the Harvard GSD. I was very thankful to receive this scholarship because it helped me support my travels to Tokyo, where I was studying abroad after receiving the scholarship. My interests in graduate school, which I've sort of followed through till now, sort of focused on the connection between digital media and physical architecture and the human body. Sort of aside from this, I also want to focus my presentation today a little bit on the things that happen outside of architecture. I've never presented these videos alongside my architecture work before, but these are clips of me dancing. I've been involved in hip hop for longer than I've been involved in architecture. And so today I kind of want to talk about the unprecedented experience of bridging together my love for architecture with my love for dance and how that's helped me grow my office in LA. So my firm, Curious Minds Los Angeles, or CMLA as we call it, was founded together with my business partner, Jana Masek-Koletz. Jana and I met at Harvard. while in the first semester, while we were working on a project together. We come from totally different backgrounds, different experiences and interests, and that's those differences are what make working together so interesting and exciting all the time. We are both licensed architects and have a desire to build real buildings, but simultaneously really crave experimentation and research, and so that's a large component of our work. And that brings me to Project XYZ. So Project XYZ is kind of a sub-portfolio within our architecture firm that focuses on projects that bring together architects with choreographers, filmmakers, and dancers, and is really the part of our office that we are very passionate and excited about moving forward. So this all started with me just wanting to do some fun projects with my talented choreographer friends and filmmakers coming out of graduate school. I wanted to explore my interests in kinetic, digital, and physical media and how that could be catalyzed by the body and movement. Through these projects, Janet and I started thinking about basic architectural principles, like in this case, the idea of figure ground, and how that could produce environments that work in an interconnected way with dance and movement. We explored immaterial mediums such as light and shadow, also playing with physical mediums. As you see here, these dancers are creating a type of line drawing using a series of bands that they pull together through their choreography. But sort of in parallel with the work being research-driven and contributing to the experimentation in our office, we find the work within Project XYZ just important for us as an avenue to support underrepresented artists in dance, film, and design. In our projects, we work with Asian American dancers as well as female artists. And this is a common thread between all of our work within Project XYZ. So from these initial pieces that we kind of just self-initiated and produced straight out of grad school, we then started to get some commissioned work. This is an installation that we were invited to put together by LA Dance Project, Benjamin Millepied's company, and they invited us as scenographers, a word that we had never heard before, but means the choreographers of the scene. And through these types of experiences, we're really able to sort of push our ideas even further. This was the first time we really felt like our interest bringing together, again, that trio of the body, digital media, and physical media together into one installation. These projects allow us to tackle avenues of both architecture and performance, thinking about topics within design such as contour mapping, topography, immersive landscapes, and bridging them together with our interests related in performance, related to ideas. Can you guys hear me? I can see my video skipping. Yes, okay. Related to ideas of the fabric scrim used in theater, as well as the audience and vantage points of a viewer in a performance setting. Later last year, we put together a full-length performance entitled Omniscopic with a female-run dance company that also touched on many of these architectural topics. In this case, we were also excited to interrogate a more political side of things, one that we think is pretty relevant for the current times we're living in, which is heavily controlled by the influence of digital and social media. This performance was meant to evoke different experiences of being surveilled and surveilling others, and involved a series of cameras and live streaming of dancers and audience members on all surfaces of the floors, the walls, and these fabric scrims that we installed, which was intended to sort of shift the authority of viewership throughout the performance. In 2018, we put together a show at the AWA+D Museum with an all-female contemporary dance company in celebration of National Women's Equality Day. You'll see themes, similar themes again, using a combination of built architecture together with projections and digital media and live streaming of video, all sort of being put together and interacted with through the dancing and the movement. I show this project last because we received a grant to put this show together again. Unfortunately, we did not know that we wouldn't be able to do it in person, but it will be streamed live August 23rd in celebration of the 100th anniversary of National Women's Equality Day, or the Women's Right to Vote. So we love collaborating with our fellow female artists and supporting organizations that are run by women in the allied arts. Again, we've worked with film production companies that are run by women, dance companies, and other designers, and we just really enjoy supporting each other and collaborating through these efforts, and it's been really a joy and a productive moment for our office. And just to sort of bring it all full circle, this is a video of me competing in World of Dance, which is a sort of prolific hip-hop dance competition that was recently purchased by NBC and now is a show run by J-Lo. And recently, just in the last month, we were commissioned by World of Dance to design their flagship studios. The first one will be in LA, and then there will be opening various other studios throughout the United States. So that's just to say, passions outside of architecture can certainly help fuel the work. And thank you so much for this opportunity. It's been great. And feel free to reach out if you're interested in collaborating. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Erin. Looking forward to some of these questions and the discussion coming up. So we'll move on to our second speaker. Our second speaker is Karin Liljegren. She was an honorable mention award winner in 1993. And across 20 years and more than 400 buildings, Karin Liljegren, FAIA, has become synonymous with the resurgence of Los Angeles's urban core. Her work has elevated the architect's role in urban revitalization, creating a nationally applicable model for the practice of adaptive reuse by driving citywide policy innovations, strengthening industry expertise, and empowering community growth. Liljegren is especially known for the creative conversion of historic structures, starting in 1999 when she worked on the first projects under LA's pioneering adaptive reuse ordinance. She worked for 15 years with Killefer Fleming Architects, KFA, where she converted 12 historic high-rise buildings totaling over 3,000 units in downtown LA and Hollywood. Liljegren founded architecture and interiors firm Omgivning in 2009 as the recession was threatening to halt downtown's resurgence. Today, she and her 40-person staff draw on a rich existing landscape to create programmatically and technically complex hotels, multifamily housing, restaurants, bars, creative offices, and theaters, often with custom furniture to match. So welcome, Karin, and when you're ready, please go ahead and share your screen.
Okay, hello everybody, and I'm thinking I should have done the short intro since I'm going to be telling my story. So let's see. Are you seeing my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, so thank you so much. It's so cool to be here, especially since I think it was when, yeah, it was early 90s, I think, when I got the Merit Award. So that was a long time ago. And I'm just going to go deep dive to like when I was born up to today and the future. So I was born and lived in the most like classic suburban Beaver Cleaver existence you could imagine in New Jersey, outside of New York. And while it was a very nurturing environment, I would say I was dying to get the hell out of there. I was obsessed with New York my whole life. I would sneak in as even in junior high on my own, just to get into the city. And I went to UNC Charlotte for undergrad in architecture and UCLA for grad school. Along the way, there was many no's, you can't do this. No, you can't be an architect. No, you should be an interior designer and all this stuff. So I was at KFA for 15 years, like in the long bio version. I'm like, shit, I'm going to be repeating a lot of stuff. And I was really, really lucky because I was kind of thrown onto the first adaptive reuse project, and I wasn't even interested in historic buildings. I was very much a modernist, and it totally changed my life because I got obsessed in downtown. I got obsessed in these old buildings and converting them to new uses, and it was so much fun. So yeah, 2009 recession. I also was just finishing up a divorce and a single parent, just moved downtown, started my business, and everyone's like, "You're crazy." And like Lee said, just even naming it Givning, which is even harder than my regular name. But sometimes you just got to go with your gut and do what your gut is telling you to do. So I remember I didn't, I thought I knew how to run a firm because I was at a pretty high level at KFA and, like understood the financials and, all that kind of stuff. Well, I didn't know anything about running a firm. I didn't have a business plan, but I just said, okay, let me just think about what's the most important things to me and to just open every door that I possibly can, especially in the recession. And if those things are on the other side, to just kind of keep moving forward. So those things were, I knew I wanted to just really focus on revitalizing downtown, like physical buildings. Let's, get them converted and, breathe new life into them. Second was to really interconnect architecture and interiors because there was starting to be kind of the great divide of, well, there's interior people and then there's architects as opposed to a real blending of both in a very cohesive way, even if they're separate companies, this kind of cohesive idea. I really wanted to work with people that I like. And that seems like a simple thing, but you have to really try and make that a goal. And people that I like that are good at what they do, they have to be both. And the fourth thing was I really wanted to create a company that wasn't the typical architecture firm. And part of that was being a place where people could align their skills and their passions, and for all of us to kind of help each other find that path. Because I think for all of us, if we're on that path, we're happy, we're making money, we're doing great. I got to find that path. So I'm giving today, yeah, we got about 40 people. We're at 7th and Spring. We've been there the 10 years and we are just maxed out, ready to explode out of the space. So omgivning is a Swedish word that means the way a space feels. And that kind of like the end product of all of that upfront work of converting these old buildings is really how does it feel in that space, and how do we create places that really have a sense of place. So let's see, I'm just going to show like 3 buildings. Just with omgivning we've touched about 400, so there's a lot, but like on the really big scale, this is 1.8 million square feet, the Sears building in Boyle Heights. And there's a few Sears distribution centers in the United States, and this one's been sitting empty forever. So this is the conversion to apartments and event spaces and office and retail and parks and a whole bunch of stuff. And this one is almost done with construction. It'll be the next proper hotel at 11th and Broadway. And then, so we do really big projects, and then we do really tiny projects that are much more kind of full service. So with these, we're designing the furniture, we're designing the lighting. A lot of times we help with branding. But I think all of our projects, we get really kind of connected and really help the client, help them guide the process, and to be a part of that process of what the project is. So those are fun. And, oh, this is kind of a fun graphics I put together for the FAIA application, but basically it shows like on the left, this is kind of the history of downtown, say from the, like just 1906 was the first printed use of the phrase downtown Los Angeles. And then, as modernism happened and suburbia happened and a bunch of other things, it really kind of declined. And then here was 99 when the adaptive reuse ordinance was passed. And again, when I was at KFA, got to work on that. And then this kind of shows the stuff. By the way, when you apply for this FAIA thing, you basically have to like pound your chest and have a big ego, and you have to like, everything you write has to be I. And it was so hard to do because, I mean, it's like the antithesis of, you know, I think it all should be we. But it was kind of interesting just realizing how many units and how many, you know, like almost 8 million square feet I've impacted, and, you know, like 4,000 units and stuff. So it's kind of interesting. I never even counted. So I've also started, I have kind of much grander plans as well. I've started a light fixture company, and that's been interesting. I think what I'm going to have to do with this is keep it as a kind of like through giving thing for a while until I can actually put focus. We've got this thing launched, I've got product, we've got certifications, and now it's like, oh, I have no idea how to like find a new manufacturer and do all this stuff while I'm just running giving, right? So, so I'm like, let's just use this now that I've got it set up to be, giving is designing product for our own projects. So I don't have to deal with reps and all this like more complicated world. For now, it's kind of like something that we can be using. And then as it kind of grows and the brand grows, then expanding it out. That's the plan. We're doing a lot with product design. So furniture, multifunctional furniture that can kind of move around, or products for purchase in the future, like working on prototypes in some of our spaces. And a huge goal is to do a lot of development so that we can be architects as developers and do our own projects. So this is where it gets a little crazy. I've got my, okay, so I'm giving, say 2009, it was just me. Then by 2018, I started the light fixture company and some of the product stuff. And then as it grows, the kind of next 10-year plan is, we call it the interstellar map. And you should see the staff like when I'm presenting this, because they're like, oh my God, what is this? Like, this is, but I really want to change the model of what an architecture firm can be or how it functions. And so whereas I see giving as like the mothership or like the main entity, to create either partnerships with other companies, or to create companies out of giving that become their own companies that are all interconnected in some way. So, and again, I'm interested in turning the model of our business upside down, how to not have to rely on big business or corporate America and be able to do more of our own projects, or at least have a stake in the projects that we're doing, so that there's also a way to incorporate sweat equity or a piece of the pie, because architects typically, you know, have no control over their financial fulfillment, or not fulfillment, what's the word? Like, you know, architects you don't make any money. And our role is so important. And also the other goal is that I think especially more and more with younger people, but even myself, I have so many different interests. It's not just architecture, right? So creating tile, like, so I have a friend who has a tile company, and so half of my office has been creating tile, and now we're gonna start a design series through her tile company. So that's gonna be blending us together, you know, and obviously the light fixture thing and the development. I think I'm really excited about the development stuff too. So that's kind of my crazy next 10-year plan. It might be a little bit slowed down with pandemic things, but and there you go. That's my story.
That's awesome. Thank you, Karin. It's really impressive seeing that diagram, and I know some folks have similar questions about how you manage that. So we'll talk about that in the Q&A.
Managing it is very tough.
All right. So we'll move on to our third and final speaker for the evening, Ingalill Wahlroos-Ritter. She was an honorable mention award winner as well in 1989. And Ingalill is an architect and educator specializing in the building envelope and the experimental architectural use of glass. She's the Dean of Woodbury School of Architecture, the Director of WUHO Gallery, and co-principal of the architecture firm ROAD. She serves on the Los Angeles Forum for Architecture and Urban Design Advisory Board. Elevated to AIA Fellow in 2018, she is the recipient of 2016 AIA California Council Educator Award and was honored in 2018 with the AIA Presidential Educator of the Year Award. She has been recognized twice by DesignIntelligence as one of the nation's most admired educators in architecture and design in 2018 and 2019. So Ingalill, whenever you're ready, please go ahead and share your screen.
Thank you. Can everybody see that?
Yes, thank you.
So you see a slide and you're hearing me. So, so I wanted to start and thank you so much for inviting me to participate. AWA+D, you're near and dear to my heart, and especially the scholarship event. And it's programs like the one, the AWA+F. I think they do two things. They, of course, provide financial support, but I think they also boost confidence and give us a voice to experiment. And I think it's times like this that it's more important than ever to think about what it means to practice architecture. So I think this is a theme that's running through all of these projects. So my career journey was not a traditional one. And so thank you for your support at AWA+D. You're an amazing community, and I love you all so much. So yeah, I was asked to do a sort of, overview. And so this is very autobiographical, like Karin's. 1989, so yeah, it's sort of OG here. I graduated from UCLA with my master's degree in 1990. And I actually dusted off an old project of mine right next to my first internship was with Frank Israel, and was a professor of mine and who hired me. But I've wanted to be an architect since I was 9. And I grew up in Finland, and it's a country very much committed to the idea of total design. And it's in Finland that my life purpose, my life motto, that everything is an opportunity for design. And I believe that for something to be beautiful, it has to be functional. And for something to be functional, it has to be beautiful. So that's something that I live by and has carried through all of my work. Some of you may recognize this. This was my second internship was Frank Gehry, working on the Disney Concert Hall. This was actually the competition, and Michael Maltzen was my boss, and I always love to remind him of that. And so what I did as a student is I found several different types of offices. So every year I interned in Finland at a small office, Skidmore, Owings and Merrill, and Frank Gehry's office. And upon graduation, so I really wanted this array of experiences, Barton Myers, another professor of mine, then hired me to go work in his office. And it was during Barton's, this is 1990, that I became licensed, and I created a study group. And these were the days, for those of you who remember, where the licensing exam was offered once a year. And this is not widely known, but the oral exam meant that you met with a small group of examiners, all men, in a hotel room. So there you were, a shy, not very comfortable, in my case, young woman, going into a hotel room, door closed, and 3 men then interrogated you in that. And just, yeah. Anyway, so 1994, you may remember 92 were the Rodney King riots, and it really made me rethink the city of Los Angeles. And 1994 was the earthquake, and by then I had already decided to move. And I moved to New York City, had no job, and I ended up sleeping on couch for about 2 months. But I ended up working for Venturi, Scott Brown and Associates, and this was the project I was hired on because I had worked on the building envelope for multiple projects, including the New Jersey Performing Arts Center that I had shown before. And it was VSBA, working for Denise Scott Brown, that then introduced me to Smith, Miller and Hawkinson. And I ended up being hired by Smith, Miller, Hawkinson. And 6 years of my life was spent on this project. This is the Corning Museum of Glass. And I was very quickly put in charge. This was just a couple years after graduation. It was a $64 million project. And it was on this project site, the construction site, where I learned to become an architect. I ended up flying back and forth between New York and Corning for several years. I then left New York, started my own firm, and moved upstate New York. Sorry, these are just some more images of the Corning project here. Huge team, wonderful experience, and Henry and Lori are an inspiration still, very much. I started my own firm, and I did 6 projects in about a year and a half, all for Corning Incorporated. I designed 2 glass art schools, and it was, of course, working with the Corning Museum of Glass. That's the factory right behind the summer stage. One of the glass schools was this outdoor mobile classroom. So there was a truck, you can see it on the left, that pulled up, and it was a mobile glass blowing studio. And the other was just across the way, and it was a fixed Venetian glass blowing studio. And it just transfixed by this material of glass, and the idea that you start a project with a material really got me excited. And it was when I was here in Corning that I got a call to teach at Cornell University, and that was my first teaching gig. So that was 1999, and so I've now been teaching for 21 years. And I was still very much doing my own thing, my own firm, but I started teaching part-time. And this was my second teaching position, was at Pilchuck. I don't know if anybody knows that. It's the glass school started by Dale Chihuly. And I was invited, as I think I was the first architect they invited to do this amazing project studio up in the wilds of Seattle. So this idea of teaching using a material, these are just a few student work. I started teaching at the Bartlett. And also at Yale. So I taught at Cornell for several years, and then Yale invited me to teach a course on glass. That was 5 years. But I was traveling between London and New Haven. And so that was just some of the teaching examples. And it was in London then, my husband and I then moved to London. Again, I knew nobody there. I had left my own office, so I keep reinventing myself. But moved to London, and I called our facade consultant, Dewhurst McFarlane and Partners, and they then hired me, and I then started the facade consulting office in Los Angeles 2 years later. But these are some of the projects. It's the Angelo Graham Portland Aerial Tramway, it's the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts by Rick Mather Architects, and the Morphosis Pompidou exhibition. These were just 3 projects where I was the facade consultant, specialty glazing with glass as a structural material. Totally unplanned expertise. So this was then the next invention chapter of my life. My husband and I then formed a firm, WROAD. We still do work. We're actually busier than ever. And I also then was invited to teach at SCI-Arc. So this was now my 4th or 5th teaching gig. And SCI-Arc then invited me to be an administrator. I ran their building technology department. This is another project my husband and I did in Jeddah, in Saudi Arabia. But we started teaching at SCI-Arc, where I reconnected with one of my graduate school classmates, Doris Sung. I'll mention her in a second. And we kept investigating the idea of materials with our students. It was a year later that I then saw this ad for a school I had never heard of, Woodbury University, that was looking for a firm, looking for a faculty member. So I then applied, and I fell in love. I fell in love with the school because it was super student-centric, and it was a majority-minority institutions where the students were front and center. And it just began a new phase of my career as a full-time educator. And while I saw Woodbury as a place to make a difference, there's no question that Woodbury changed me. And it's the students of this school that are the future of practice. And I found my calling here. It's to help amplify each of these students' unique voices. And this is what I believe, that good design is a human right, that architecture has the revolutionary potential to transform society into one that is more just and equitable. But for architecture to reach its full transformative potential, the profession has to change, and it has to be changed by becoming more diverse. So my goal has then, since coming to Woodbury, been this, just to forge new pathways, launch programs and initiatives that support this idea of education for all, and ultimately architecture for all. So just a few pathway projects. This is our community college. We do an annual exhibition where we invite all the community colleges and all the students to show their work together collectively. High School Academy, I started a middle school program and a high school program. That was some of the first projects I did at Woodbury. I think high school is already too late. I think middle school is actually where a lot of the really inspiring the next generation. This is a STEM, we just won an award for our STEM pathway. It's a mentorship program where we connect our alumni with high school students. This was the Hollywood STEM Academy. And these are just a few study away. I've taken students all over the world: Paris, Berlin, China, Tahiti, New Zealand, Japan. And this is, I have to say, one of the things I miss the most right now of our time. So the Integrated Path to Architecture Licensure is another pathway project. It's an education, experience, and exam are integrated. And so our students then can become licensed as students. Just this year, we launched an applied computer science program in the School of Architecture. So it's our newest program, super excited about it. The idea of diverse students, coding and programming using social justice projects. I think that's just gonna be super exciting. So the other thing that I do, as was mentioned, is I direct the gallery of WUHO, and I've been doing this for 11 years, produced over 120 projects. The whole mission of WUHO is to uncover erased and hidden voices, and Deborah Sussman was one of them, of course. These are some of my amazing colleagues. I think I saw Koji on the call, so I am the luckiest human being alive to have people like this to inspire me every day. And one of the wonders of being an administrator is that I now can give back. These are people that I have then chosen to work with and hired as faculty members. I hope you recognize some of these people. There's a lot of them, but I just wanted to highlight just some of them, and the wonder and the beauty of being 54 years old and now being able to give back to the next generation. So collaboration is another theme that I'm hearing here. This is a project, so Doris Sung and I collaborated. She's, her area of expertise is the thermobimetals, and mine is facade. So we combined our sort of knowledge and expertise to work on this amazing, wonderful project. I just finished working on a book with Barbara and Jana Ireland. So writing is now another project in the future. And I wanted to mention, just as I wrap up here, this notion of advocacy and advocating, and that's the beauty of being a dean. So last year we declared the year of housing, looking at housing, and have amazing new partners, Gensler, Fairplex, National Health Foundation, just to name a few. And this year we just declared the year of climate justice. It means that the entire school is now looking at climate change as a project. And so I'm gathering new partners for this initiative. And in February, I was invited then to present at the United Nations headquarters. Absolutely a highlight of my career, being there in the core building in New York, presenting about Woodbury University. So I just want to end there. I want to thank again the foundation. This program matters. I know how much it matters to each student who receives gifts like this. Each designer that you support, you give each of them that boost to keep doing. You've given us all an invitation to do more and to help the next generation. So thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ingalill. That's a really inspiring note to wrap up on. And we have some time left before the end of the event. And so we would like to open up for Q&A. And Elise Bornstein, my fellow AWAF board member and our president-elect, will be moderating the Q&A. So Lise, are you?
I'm here.
We'll start here. All right.
So I'm going to start off. So there have been several questions coming in, and I'm going to give people a minute to formulate some questions and throw them up on the chat while we do. But there's some questions that I saw come in earlier, and I have one that starts right off, and it goes to all three of your presentations. And that is collaboration. You guys all mentioned collaboration, and clearly this brings strength and diversity to your work. So I would love, maybe if each of you could spend like a hot second talking about what challenges and opportunities does that bring to your work, but specifically, does being a woman factor into that? And what kind of community might that bring? So I'm going to throw that out first.
Who did you want to?
Should we all just
Oh,
jump
sorry,
in?
I put myself on mute. I put myself on mute right as I pointed.
Oh,
sorry.
except we can't see who you're pointing to.
Ingalill.
Okay.
I know. Ingalill first, but I'd love to hear from all three of you.
So, you know, I'm going to answer that question elliptically. I think collaboration, I mean, this is what I say about running a school. It's like running a big project, and you want to gather people around you that are smarter than you, and that'll help make, you know, inspire you and make a better project. You know, I do think the diversity, I think the more voices we have around the table, it's not just having more voices, but it's having a broader range of voices and the broader range of experience. And that's why it's so critical. And to me, that collaboration is exactly the opportunity to get, you know, that's where you get innovation, and that's how you get brand new ideas that you've never thought of. And so it really opens up entirely new, rich possibilities. And I think it's only through collaboration and through having a diversity of voices that happens.
And so I would say, yes, exactly. And then adding on to that, the problem I have often is that, especially running like an architecture firm where just trying to pay the bills and like everybody's salaries, the time it takes to do that kind of collaboration, we've really struggled with, because it's been very hard for us to be profitable the way that some other firms are run at a more, this is what you're going to do, you're going to do it, or I'm the designer and you're going to listen to me. When there's a whole group of people like collaborating and talking, it's really hard. And so we're still determined to keep doing it, but we're creating all sorts of systems and frameworks and stuff so that it can be more efficient, because that's something that we've kind of run into.
Yeah, I would totally agree with all of those comments. I mean, I think from our end too, you know, a lot of our work is self-initiated, and either, you know, we reach out directly to other individuals that we've been watching and think are really exciting, or they're reaching out to us. Yeah, I guess that challenge, I would echo Karin in saying that, you know, it's a difficult business challenge, but, you know, our hope is that, at least in terms of the collaborations we're doing that are surrounding different visual and performing arts, that the future of these collaborations is that they're further supported by the community, by local communities, or even bigger than that. So hopefully these types of work can be supported and helps, you know, be actually helpful to growing and building a business. But that is definitely a challenge that we face as well.
Thank you. And I'm going to combine two questions. This is for Karin. Stephanie asked a question that Karin, if you could talk about your goals and intents, and how do your goals and intents inhabit and drive your firm collaboration and project design, which we started to talk about. But then with your large staff, how do you manage, this is from Christina, how do you manage so many facets of business? That diagram is kind of crazy.
It is so crazy.
That's me saying that.
It's so crazy. So I've learned a lot of lessons along the way. And I think it's about all of us as human beings, again, really trying to figure out what is my path in life. I mean, I really do think that if you're constantly in tune with that and evolving who you are to fine tune or go along this path that's the right thing for you. You know, the thing I started to realize, and it took literally until about a year ago, it's like, oh, I'm a visionary. And I had a really hard time even saying that, because I felt very cocky about saying I'm a visionary, but I really am. I'm a vision person. So to realize, yeah, I'm a very good manager and organizer too, but there's so many other people that are better than that. And if I focus more and more and more in what I'm good at and what I love to do, and let all of the rest of the stuff go to other people so that they can do what they're good at and they like to do, right? Because we're all so different. And so, and it's a daily struggle. I mean, You know, ask my son, who's always like, oh my God, you're still working, you know, like right now he's like, come on. Yeah, I think it's that letting go. You got to let a whole bunch of stuff go to other people.
Thanks. I'd like to then direct this to Ingalill. When you mentioned taking the exam in a hotel, I was one of the probably half of the people on the call nodding. Oh yeah, I remember that. And there's the bed over there and everything. So what, you know, you're in education, and it's a big deal. And you've seen both sides by having your own firm as well. So what is the role of licensure, in your opinion, specifically for women in our profession?
So I want to refer everybody, there's a great article that Monica Ponce de Leon just did an interview on Arconnect, and she spoke exactly about licensure. And her take on it was that architecture is over-legislated, that we have too many checks and balances. And she recommended doing away with the experience part. Anyway, I'm not going to quote her, but it's worth looking into that article because I think it really opens up questions about how we practice. And that's where I started. I think that there are as many ways of practicing architecture as there are people on this call. So, you know, Karin and I just went through the fellowship process, and this is my take on licensure. It seems to me that we're boxing ourselves in way too tight. There are barriers. There are too many barriers for people to become licensed. And part of my vision and part of my, you know, desire is to do away with those barriers. But I also think that we architects tend to push away too many creative people who are thinking outside of the usual traditional pathways. And I think that one way that the that NCARB could approach this, and CAB, and you know, the entire profession, it needs a will, it needs all of us along with it, is exactly what the fellowship allows you to identify categories, right? That you then have different categories that recognize that there are different ways of practicing. And I think that there could be different types of certification that then recognize the many different ways of practicing. This is clearly a long-term vision, but you know, in Europe, you get your degree. My husband's German, he got his degree, and he almost instantly he got licensed in Holland. It's a totally different system there, and you put trust in the educational system that you're provided with, you know, the fundamental kind of knowledge. And then you can begin to practice. Of course, we know we're never going to practice without, you know, you have to follow codes, you have engineers. I mean, and that's the point that Monica was making, that I think we have over legislated and boxed ourselves in too tightly.
Thank you. And I just got the ding, so I know we're running out of time, and I want to be really sensitive to everybody's time. I actually have about 12 more questions here, so I would encourage people to follow up with our three lovely panelists tonight, because they've been incredible. Jana, is it okay if I go ahead and lead us to the toast?
Yes. Yeah, I see we are past 7:30, so let's wrap up.
Okay. Thank you. First of all, I want to thank everybody, and we're going to toast our incredible, diverse, and fierce community. Seeing our winners in real life actually warms my heart. I was looking through, and I saw at least 4 or 5 of our previous winners, both fellowship and scholarship winners, who joined us tonight, and I really applaud that. It makes me so proud of our organization and our profession and the strength of our community. And I want to thank you again for joining us for the first of 2 AWAF awards events this year. We encourage you to join us next Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. when we award our 2020 AWAF Fellowship winner, and hear a presentation from our 2019 winners, Christy Ballier and Kelly Bear. And now, we would like to celebrate another milestone. We would like to honor Ginger Tansman, and I know she's here. I see her on my screen. Wave, please, Ginger. Ginger is an excellent advocate representative of our organization. She doesn't know I'm going to do this, by the way.
Oh.
And she has been active in the AWA and AWAF for 47 years, since 1973, acting as a president for both organizations, the AWA and F5, and carrying the torch with a passion and resilience. A true mentor, advocate, and leader, she has shared her wisdom and energy with all of us. She will be stepping down as AWAF president this year, and it's going to make me cry. But we want to honor her love, loyalty, commitment to the organization with a toast. So, to all of the I'm crying already. With all of the 2020 winners, our incredible previous winners who have so generously and honestly shared their experience and stories tonight, and to our fearless leader, Ginger, we salute you.
Oh my.
Yay!
Well, yeah, that was a complete surprise. I'm going to take 60 seconds of your time, if I might. First, just to say thank you. It's fairly overwhelming. But I'm going to dream about everything that we just saw over the last hour. I know this is going to come into my dreams tonight. And one of the things that happened out of this, I posted a little thing on the chat line that it was inspiring. It brought me back. I found myself as in hearing your stories, thinking over my career, and it also propels me forward. And I think the real theme and one of the things that happens in AWA+D and happens in AWA Foundation is that we pay it forward. I could tell all the tales about going to school, the very lonely time going to school and starting a career and starting a practice and all that kind of stuff. You know, I have my history, but times have changed so much. And the fact that you have a whole different type of network, and you've had different types of school experiences and early practice experiences, takes me to the point of saying what I try to do, and what I think I'll raise my glass to too, is paying it forward. And if and as you're able not only to support this program and, you know, by making your own donations, if you can talk it up, and if you can find other people who will support this, the women who are coming behind me and you will benefit from that. And oh my gosh, okay, now I'm just gonna go boo-hoo. That's pretty amazing, thank you.
Thank you. If you could all unmute yourselves, let's have a cheer and a glass. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining our event tonight. Hopefully we will see you next Tuesday. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Have a good
Thanks,
evening.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.